Okiru.
I don't know. Let's talk about the West.
Let's talk about the West.
Yes.
What about the West side?
You can say so much, man.
Of course. You can.
It's ethnically diverse. Straight off the bat, like since early migrant stages and stuff, it was the working class side of Melbourne, and I guess the land and properties and stuff were a lot cheaper, and also there were a lot of I guess working opportunities too, since it was mostly industrial stuff, like back in the 80s, probably even earlier than that and stuff. But seeing that development and, being first generation Filipino Aussies, I guess, it's like, we all saw that sort of that cultural diversity.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's such it's such a blessing, like having all these different perspectives and cultures in the area and stuff. And like I was just thinking about the people that you meet, like sometimes when you go out to the city, right, for example, and let's say you get on the beers at a pub, and as you do, you get to like have a few banters here and there, might have some ciggies, just having a chat, and then you meet people, right? You're like, oh, where you from, man? He's like, oh yeah, I'm from the West, man.
Yeah.
And like when he says that, or she says that, you're just like, oh shit. It's just like, that's what's up. Like you just sort of click. Like yeah, I can recall like back in April, it's funny as when was it? Yeah, April. This was, I think, when we kind of just got out of lockdown. I'm not too sure, can't remember, but there was one time we were at, what's it called? ABC, formerly Chow Gao, that place, that bar at MC.
Yeah.
And, we were just having a drink, with a couple of mates, like three of us. And then, I was feeling a bit generous. So I decided to buy an extra jug for these usos, like on another table. Like they were all like sad because like, I think they spent all the money on their drinks. So they're like, oh, shit, we can drink a lot. So we're kind of like, looking around and stuff, right? And then I was like, oh, well, guys, have this jug. And they're like, oh, you serious? Yeah, man. It was like, oh, it's this guy's birthday. And it was like, oh, no shit. They're like, yeah, bro. So we gave him the jug. And we were like, oh, where you from, bro? And it was like, oh, man, we're from the West side. I'm like, oh shit, we're from the West too. Yeah. So they were from like, I think around your area, like Tani, that side of town. And it was just like, oh shit, that's mad. And then it was funny because another guy on our table was Indian. And then he saw me giving that jug to another guy. And then he decides to buy this, like, what do you call it? Like a tube? The tubes of beer. And like, oh, here, guys. Like he just bought it for everyone. So everyone was just coming to the table and stuff. And then 2 minutes later, this other table behind us, there were Kiwis. Like they were just visiting. And they were like, hey, boys, can you help us finish this jug? Oh, we're like, and so they gave us jugs. And then everyone, like I called the usos over, hey, bro, help us finish this jug, yada, yada. And like, there was just that mutual connection of like being from the West, like, it's all good. It's like, we're chill, I guess, or like, we can get along, like, even though total strangers, but like just that connection, it's different, right?
Right.
Yeah, you get that often with like the West. You just hear someone from the West and you're like, oh, you have that instant connection because you're like, how it is in the West.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that is the same thing in the East? Like if you go, oh yeah, I'm from, Belgrave or something like that. Oh yeah, well, I'm from the. Do you reckon it's that same connection too?
I don't really know, man. Like, because it's kind of different. I mean, I think in the East it's a bit more spread out. So it's hard to know like who or the areas that they're from or whatever. But I did, I think I was having another ciggy somewhere, and I ended up talking to this tradie kid, and he ended up being from the West. And I was like, how do you find it? Like, what kind of dudes are in your crew and stuff? And it was like, I get boys from like Sandringham, Mulgrave, like Bentley and stuff. And like their culture is just so different, even though he was like straight up Aussie, as Aussie as you can get.
Yeah.
And he was saying that like they just don't have that, I guess that awareness of like that culture, or like that openness to culture, or like other cultures. Like
Right.
he was saying like it was hard to sort of communicate with them because they didn't understand other cultures, or they couldn't sort of get along. So he was saying like, it's different when you meet someone from the West, and like you understand like when you mention Footscray, you're like, oh shit, yeah, I know Footscray too. Like these people don't know about Footscray or whatever, like some sort of area. So I think it's fairly different compared to the West.
They haven't been exposed to all these different cultures. Like, I don't want to say that it's only like pretty much in the East, you kind of can see that demographic. It's like one set of demographic mainly. But over here, you have all that diverse, rich, people from India and Kiwi and stuff like that. So
But I guess it's also sort of different because like when you talk about Southeast, that's sort of similar to the West, like sort of Dandenong, Hampton Park, that side of town, like all the ethnic areas. Like I guess maybe it's an ethnic thing. Like everyone just sort of like jams together and stuff, man.
I think like with ethnics as well, especially because people from they kind of want to stick to like family and like community is a big thing for them. So I guess we kind of come into this like knowing from the West, just you're Asian, you're philo or whatever. Like, you're like, oh yeah, come, like you're part of the crew, man. Like, where I don't want to like bag Aussies and stuff like that, but the type of the thing is kind of like fend for yourself type of thing. So they don't have like a community type of thing. It's like, I'm in a race and I gotta get ahead of you.
Like now to think about it, like, especially during the high school years, during the like main formative years, for me personally, like having a school in Sunshine, so it was like predominantly Asian. So I guess, it was just natural to have Asian friends. And like, we would have the odd, I guess, not necessarily 100% Aussie, but like we had like, a couple of Italians, a couple of Europeans and stuff, and that was all cool. But like I guess none of them like identified as like pure Aussie. But later on, I guess when you're out of that high school environment, when it comes to like uni and stuff, I guess the culturals and moralities don't sort of play a part anymore, sort of thing. Because like in high school you got to be cliquey, or like you're forced to be like cliquey, like fit in sort of thing. But when it comes to uni or even the work life, it's just like whoever, and like you tend not to see color. But then again, like it's when I would meet I guess other ethnicities, predominantly Caucasians, it'd be sort of different. Like they'd be so interested in all these things, like the customs and the cultures and the sort of things that we do, which is kind of cool. And it's good that they're open. I'm like, so that I guess changed my perspective of like, Aussies, like they're actually chill and like, you can get along with them. Like, especially now, like tradies and stuff, they're all like sweet and
Go on, Jessica.
Mr. Williams joined.
Aziam.
Mr. Will.
Yes, he is. Oh, Big Will.
Oh, Chili Willy.
Chili Willy joining
Chili in. Willy in the house.
Sorry, I'm late, boys.
Why's your name Chili Willy, bro?
Because of the chili dogs. Because of the chili dogs.
What was the question, sorry?
Why is your name Chili Willy?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It started
because he got the heat. He got the heat on the heat.
It started at... It started at St. Berg's, and we were trialing a chili dog at the time, and because it was a chili dog and then like 2 other burgers. So I was kind of the one who was eating all the chili dogs, while everyone else was doing all the burgers. And yeah, I ended up eating just a bunch of them, and then kind of just named it after me. So it was kind of
dog.
man.
yeah, man, that was pretty dope.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Look out for Chili Willy presents Snag Report.
When's the Bunnings pop-up coming, bro?
Oh, we're trialing some things.
We in the lab.
He's in the lab.
He's in the lab.
He's in the lab.
He's in the lab. He's cooking,
Right.
bro. He's cooking.
Right. Well, it was like 2 weeks ago. I think I had something like 15, 16 snags in a week, man. It was
Damn, bro.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Damn.
How's your gut, man? Like, how you surviving?
Right.
All that precious meat, man.
Yeah.
Nah, man. All the fiber kept me regular, bro.
Oh, sure, man. Sure. Justify it. Just justify it.
None of the fiber of the white bread, bro. It was sick.
At least get some whole grain in there, man.
Had me sorted, so we good. Like, who needs veggies, bro?
Oh my god. Jesus. Anyway, does anyone want to speed up Will on this or what we were discussing? You guys are getting into a really good conversation about the different suburbs and the west side, east side, cultural, I guess, biases in that sense. You know, how can we, I guess, remove those biases from our cultures and being in a certain location and making those our tribes? You know, how can we be united, right? If we're all in this together.
Yeah. Sure.
I guess to kind of speak, go on what Punch just said. Like my experience was coming out of high school. Coming out of high school, like I went into TAFE and I studied multimedia, and what I found out was like these are all people that were like all into my interests and stuff, but we were all from like different directions. So I don't know, I think it's a matter of like finding like-minded people,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Of course.
Because like these are just people from like totally different like areas, backgrounds, ethnicities. It's cool meeting like those kinds of people, like,
Right.
and yeah, like there were people like I clicked with very quickly because they were just so similar. So I think from my experience, that's probably one way to get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
So putting yourself in situations where you can find like those like-minded people, and in your case, it was through that TAFE.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what other ways can we do that? You know, especially now.
True. It's pretty difficult. I mean, like, I guess the other way is, it's gonna sound real sappy, but like, is just to remember that like at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all made of same flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the political answer.
We all bleed red. We all bleed.
Definitely.
We all
have eyes. No, but it's true though, because like if you think about it, I mean, like for example, I'm already thinking about, you know, what happens if, you know, we do come out of lockdown again, and you know there is an opportunity to go out and explore, you know, have the same freedoms that we did before. Like I was thinking, like it's like, you know, don't take it for granted now. Like I see, or now I'm trying to see each person as an opportunity to sort of make a difference. Like even just that, hey, how you going? Or like, how can I sort of help you in some sort of way? Even just like, you know, people like old ladies crossing the street sort of thing. So I guess keeping an open eye, an open ear, and an open heart to pretty much everyone. Everyone you see and encounter, which is kind of hard, but you never know what could sort of come out from those interactions, those little, hey, what's going on, like hello kind of thing. Like those sorts of little things is what I guess is needed, especially in this time where everyone's so isolated or everyone's masked up, where there's that sort of barrier. And it's like, we kind of forgot how to sort of communicate or sort of engage,
of course,
or like have that face-to-face communication. So I'm thinking, when that time comes, or even now, they're going to work and stuff or whatever, taking those little opportunities to sort of not necessarily make a difference, but, make someone feel good somehow, some way sort of thing. Not be like creepy, like, like stare at them, be like, hey, what's up kind of thing. But like, just be like, just smile, like sort of thing, like people on trains and stuff, like that sort of thing. And I feel like that's what, the city needs, or like we all need, sort of thing to reestablish that communication, they call it. Like the communication community. Yeah, sorry.
Of course. So how can we, you say to do these small things, just to smile, interact with people, just to say, how are you? How can we really do that in such a divisive time? Right. There's a lot of, I don't know, animosity between sides. It's scary. How can we maintain that value and always be responding to situations as opposed to reacting to them?
Like for me personally, like even just this past week, it was crazy, man. Like, so I catch public transport to work and stuff, right? So I get the trains, and then I got like this 2 to 5 minute window from my bus to my train, and I got off the bus. I walked up to the platform, and I see this African guy, this really tall dude, and I'm like, oh, this guy's like, he's down with and stuff. Like, it was chilling. And then he looked at me, like he gave me a look. He was just like, and I was like, all right, this guy might try to do something. Not because of the race, but the way that he looked at me. Like, there's that certain look where he's looking for something. Right. And then, so I just stood there, like had my cigarette, and 2 minutes later, he comes up to me. He's like, hey, bro, do you have like coins, man? I just need to top up my Mikey. I'm like, oh shit. And like, I realized he asked like these other ladies before for like coins. And then they obviously didn't have any coins with them because no one carries coins anymore, or like a lot of people don't. And he asked me, and I only had like 2 minutes left until the train rolled up. And I was like, I got paid that day. I was like pretty reluctant to sort of like spot him or like give him that cash or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'll just top up your Mikey. And then he checked his Mikey. It was like -$7. He was like, oh, can you, chuck in $10? I'm like, oh yeah, why not? I got you, bro. So I topped it up, and then I was like, oh damn, like, this guy was actually looking for something, and I had the means to sort of help him, because he decided to have the, I guess, humility to sort of reach out and ask for help. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not like a baller or whatever, we poor, like we're in the struggle too, man. Like we're still on the grind sort of thing. So I'm like, I got money, so I'll help you out. And then 2 days later, I was walking on the street in the city, and then little do you know, there's a $10 note on the floor. And I'm like, oh shit. This is payday, man. So I swiped it. I'm like, yo, this is like, I'm getting paid back from that favor that I did with that dude. I'm like, man, like, it just made me really think, like, if you have the means to help or to encourage or to really help someone's life, then why not go for it, man? Like, you never know what impact you can sort of do. And like, it was just really surreal at that moment. If I didn't, sort of yeah, say if I was a tight ass, say if I was like sort of a stinge, I'm like, oh, you know, you're probably, or if I assume that, oh, you're probably just going to use that $10 to like get beers or get like drugs or whatever, you know, sort of thing. But, you know, doing good will always come back to you sort of thing. Yeah. So I guess it's in holistically, yeah, to get that tribe is not necessarily look for those opportunities, but yeah, like what I said before, keep your eyes, ears, and even your heart like open to the people that ask for help. And, you know, don't, you know, help when you can. You know, don't feel obliged to sort of help, you know your limits and stuff, you know, that sort of thing.
I think it's just that being, I guess you yourself have that genuine heart in yourself to give, to be unselfish, but not all of us share the same qualities, right?
Yeah, true.
So what else can we do apart from, you know, if we have nothing to give, what else can we do to help someone else if we don't have those means?
Yeah, that's hard. Well, I guess, yeah, that's a tough question. How would you answer that question?
I know it's a difficult question to answer, man, without the situation happening, right? It's, I guess if you have that unconditional love, right, you'd figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You figure out how you can help someone. All right, maybe I don't have the means now. All right, maybe, you know, I can find someone who can be like, hey, can you know, spot this guy or whatever. I guess it's going the extra mile, the extra step further to do your part, to show that you care, right? Even if you don't have the ability to help someone, maybe you can point them in the right direction. And that in itself is helping, right? That adds value, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just walking away and just saying, sorry, you know. I guess that's how I would do it.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
It kind of reminds me of that time that I was in Japan, and then I was asking for directions. I told this story before. I was asking for directions, and to some people, like, even though they couldn't speak English, they're like, yeah, oh, maybe this way. Like, they still stick with you. And it's just like that relentless pursuit of just trying to help someone, even if you're not too sure yourself or you can't help. That just lending that extra little bit of help will make the big difference in the end.
Exactly right. So do you think that's an innate quality, or is that something we can all learn?
I think it's something that has to be learned. It's not something you can sort of do, especially, you know, let's say, for example, you did have that rough upbringing. Let's say, for example, you know, you didn't have a lot of money coming through. You're not very smart. So, like, I guess those sort of disadvantages. I guess for some, or for people to learn that is to, it really has to be learned through the various stages of life. And sometimes people don't even learn it until they're older, like even in the senior years and stuff. But I guess it takes experience to sort of learn that, or a certain empathy or understanding of hardship to sort of to understand like what people are going through. And I think, you know, the whole pandemic has made everyone sort of learn the hard way, or like has learned about those, you know, insecurities, the anxieties, and, you know, it's pretty much put everyone on the same sort of level, like that low point where we're all struggling. And it's like, it's just like, it's learning how to go back up, or learning how to rise up like Okiru. You know, it's about learning how to go through it. You know, I feel like, you know, no matter who you talk to, everyone's experienced something, be it mental, emotional, physical, financial. Everyone's there, like all the, you know, and there are people that go through it, or like are pushing through it, and there are those that sadly remain there, or sadly even go lower.
Right.
And it's that's what I was saying before. Like, once we come out of lockdown, or not even once before we come out of lockdown, even now, even in those little interactions where you're picking up, takeaway coffee or at your local sort of joint, you would take those opportunities to appreciate those people that are there, sort of thing, like that community sort of vibe. And just reignite that.
Right. We're all in this situation now. Yeah. And hopefully we only can hope that we can find gratitude through this event that's happening. But what happens once we do go back to normality in a way? Is it going to be the same? Are we going to still have that gratitude? Are we still going to have that mindset? Or are we just going to go back to what life was
Before
like?
COVID.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's hard to sort of say for everyone. But if you think of how we first did the pandemic, when was that? Last year, like the first sort of set of lockdowns where people like on social media, everyone's like, lockdown challenge, I'll tag you, so you got to answer these questions, or like about me, yada yada, or like push-up challenge sort of thing. Like, you have those little things to get you by, to push you through. Kind of like what people from Sydney are going through now. Like, they're seeing, just wait it out sort of thing. We'll get through this, yada yada. But I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there was that shift in the way that Melbourneians sort of dealt with it, like to the point where, oh shit, sorry, I'm on a skateboard, but to the point where they're not doing those challenges anymore. They're not blasting what they're doing through lockdown. It's gotten to the point where everyone's fatigued. To the point where everyone's tired, and so it's like you can't really say like for sure that it'll be a consistent happiness or consistent energy or vibe, but I feel like for me personally, it's something that I sort of want to sort of push, like put myself sort of out there, like across those boundaries, and sort of keep it consistent, rather than going back into lockdown mode again, because how many months have we been through this thing?
Way too many.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you've gotten to the point where you were in lockdown, you were out of lockdown, in, out, and you sort of saw those same sort of patterns. And now I think this one here is sort of like the last straw, where you're like, man, I'm not going to sort of go back into that sort of, take things for granted sort of thing and live the life that I lived before, but level up, man. Seriously, like, because otherwise it's just going to be your repeat cycle. Like the next time you go into lockdown sort of thing, which is, I don't know, most likely next year in a couple of months, maybe December. Just let me talk to Dan for a bit. But, but like for me personally, that's what I feel like. I sort of need to do, or like I'd actually want to do, like be sort of a different person, be more appreciative of those interactions, and yeah.
What about you boys, Will and Gerald? What do you reckon?
I think in terms of being grateful, for me personally, I think it'll affect me. Like I'll know that once we get out of this, one of the things that I did last time when we got out of lockdown was like, I'm going to make sure I connect with all the people that I didn't get to see, and meet them in person, go out with these people, talk to them, like embrace them, hug them, have that physical contact, do all those things. I think the truth is though, like, I feel like, I don't know, this might be the, unpopular opinion, but I think people do tend to forget about that gratefulness once it's kind of been long enough, and they go, they've lived their like living outside of these lockdowns have become the normal now, the normal thing, and it's just like they kind of forget what it was like before. So yeah, that's just my opinion on what might happen, but this might be like long time after. But if we can keep that gratefulness mindset and grow from this, and hopefully people do, the world will be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say right now. Like, yeah, it's hard to say because I do feel like that last lockdown when we came out, I think people did focus on social interaction, like especially like being locked up for like 3 or 4 months or whatever. I remember the first 2 3 months out, everyone's just like, I just want to see all my friends, I just want to hang out. And then even when was it, like I think in February or March or whatever, when we had like a snap lockdown for like 2 weeks, the lead up to it, because I remember we had like a couple days warning, and everyone's just like, I just want to hang out with my friends, like yeah, that was like prime hanging out with people time. So I feel like we will have a short amount of time where everyone's just like is kind of focused on that social aspect. But I also feel like once that kind of honeymoon period's over and everyone's like is able to do everything freely again, I think people will start to resort to go back to their old ways and just like do whatever they were doing before. Definitely think there are some habits that certain people have picked up. Like for example, like I know people who never ran pre-lockdown, but now that it's pretty much the only exercise they can do, so that's all they do. And I know like the people who do that, like, and have committed to it, like, I'm sure they'll continue to do it. But yeah, it's a hard one to say, man. Like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, a lot of people will kind of just go back to their old ways.
Right.
It might not be straight. It won't be straight away, definitely. Yeah, I think it'll take a bit of time, but yeah, there's definitely things that people have picked up, like you guys said, like that appreciation. Like, I'm sure there will still be that appreciation to an extent, but yeah. I feel like I said, like once that honeymoon period's over, like, yeah, it's hard to say what will happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with all you guys. It's hard to tell. We can only hope that people actually develop a lasting habit from this, right? And hopefully we can do the things that Punch has done, how a little bit of selflessness can ripple to others as well, can inspire others. Like at the bar, you bought a drink and then it snowballed into more people doing the same thing, right? Just everyone being generous to each other. So I guess it starts with us, yeah? We can only do what we can, and hopefully it can snowball, but we have to lower the expectation.
Right, you muted yourself.
Technical difficulty. This is why Zoom sucks, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to go back to that. Why we worry is meaningless. Why do you think that what we worry about is meaningless?
Like for me personally, like I feel like worrying. There's like a I don't want to say there's a limit to how much you should worry, but there kind of is a limit. Like worrying is good because it lets you kind of run through all the scenarios, right? But then I think it's like once you've kind of thought of all those scenarios, then it's like, then what? Like which scenario is actually the one that A, is the reality of the situation, and then B, like which is the scenario to fix that situation. So I think I'll yeah. So like, just to give an example, like recently my car broke down, right, and the radiator cracked, and I was just like, man, like this situation sucks. Like I was like, all the thoughts came into my mind. It's like, man, like I have to pay for this. What if the car blows up? What if, you know, what if the fix is actually super easy? Like all the thoughts just flooded into my mind within the span of like 10, 20 minutes. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I actually just need to sit down and just breathe. Like, just let it let all those scenarios kind of play out in my mind. But then once it's played out, it's like, all right, cool. Like, now let's actually see what reality has in store for me, if that makes sense. And yeah, and then the I guess the reality was on the lighter side of the spectrum. So it was just like, it wasn't like the crazy, like, oh, I have to pay like thousands of dollars to fix a thing. It was like, let's just try and patch up whatever's cracked and then see what happens from there. That's why I'm like, so to kind of answer the question, it's just like, I could have worried myself to death about this whole situation and like thought about every possible scenario, and then thought about every possible scenario after that, and then thought of every possible scenario after that. Because in reality, like, whatever you think of, you can't. I want to say you like. It's a very unlikely chance that you'll figure out every scenario correctly from start to finish, right? So in that sense, like, worrying about stuff too much is just unnecessary. And yeah, that's just how I see it.
Of course.
Yeah, can I just piggyback off what Will said? So he was obviously worrying about his car breaking down. And I guess it's not funny, but coincidentally, prior to maybe, I don't know, Will, when did your car break down?
This was about a month or two ago.
When was that? Are you sure?
Yeah. It was
Are you sure?
I mean, it was
Just trust him, bro. Just trust him. It's his car, man. It's his car.
No. But it's lockdown, so time is rearranged. But no, yeah.
if that's the case, then it was 2 months ago. It was at the start of lockdown.
So that was like 2 months ago. Yeah. So in February, my mum was in a car accident, and she was using our car, and when she got into the accident, I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like, oh, shit, sorry. But, raw emotions. I was like, shit, like, she was in a car accident. Like, she was going to church on Ballarat Road in the morning, and there was a motorcyclist that came down and was going down really fast. And she got clipped as she was going inside the church. And then I was like, oh, man, like, this is a major setback. Mum, she was okay. She got out fine. It was just the sort of mental trauma and I guess the effects of the crash. But that took out, my car that I was using every day to sort of go to shinobi jobs and go to sort of get work and stuff. And then when this happened, when, we sort of, we had to have the car right off. And I'm like, man, like my world just like crumbled hardcore, bro. I was like, Shinobi was at the point where it was about to kick off. I was getting jobs. People were inquiring and stuff. And I was like, I can't take these jobs because I can't drive. So I'm like, oh, man, it sucks. So it put me in that sort of position where I sort of had to, had those anxieties where like, how am I going to fulfill this, this business and, put in work without a car. It's so essential, but I don't have the means for it. I'm like, man, that sort of like put me in a rut. I guess financially, because my parents are rich, I just started to sort of build my own finances because I was living a total different life beforehand. And I just, I guess started working, and I was like, man, this is like so depressing. I was like, what am I going to sort of do? I thought of all these things like, I'm going to have to ride my bike to like shoots. I'm going to have to catch public transport to shoots and even hitch rides, which I did like with Will and AJ and John and stuff. I'm like, even had to borrow my brother's car. And it just kept me worried for so long. Like even to this day, man, it's like I still don't have a car or a means to sort of get around. But like it sort of doesn't stop me from, I guess, trying to sort of grind at it. Like you could, like what Will said, like you can only think so far, or like your thoughts can only take you so far. But you'll get to that point where like you've thought so much, it's like it's either you take that as an opportunity to sort of rise up, Okiru style, like promoting Okiru. No, like literally, like it's either you take that setback, and it's really up to your personal choice, to your freedom to sort of decide what you want to do with it. So it's either you stay within those thoughts level-headed, or you stay in that sort of that low point, or if you decide to sort of do something about it, or like go up, or like maneuver and pivot sort of thing. And I guess like, what we really think about doesn't really, like to an extent, it doesn't have a point when it sort of like prolongs, when it's prolonged thoughts, thinking about the same sort of problems day in, day out. You're putting yourself in that sort of loop where you're pretty much digging your own grave. But it's like when you decide to sort of not think about it, but sort of choose to dig yourself out, or choose to sort of elevate, that's when I guess the thoughts, like you thought about everything, and now the question is what you're going to do with it, or how you're going to actualize or materialize those thoughts, because thoughts come and go, right? Like thoughts, like they go like this. Like it's, I guess, how would you say? What is this? What's this direction? Horizontal? Vertical? Horizontal, yeah?
Yeah, horizontal.
Yeah. So it goes in one ear, out the other ear, or like your mind, like it flows through. But the change comes when you decide to change the current. Like instead of going this way, it has to go sort of that way, right? So instead of like floating, you decide to sort of take control of those thoughts that are floating, and putting those thoughts into something sort of meaningful, like, like sort of wiggles kind of thing, like, like you're trying to direct those thoughts and put them back on course, rather than just letting them expand. And I guess, not to be sexist, but I guess it's different for females, right? When they think of things that men don't think about. And it's like they think of the most, not to be sexist again, but they think of the most obscure and outlandish sort of thoughts where it just sort of explodes. I guess maybe it's because of the hormones, but that's just how they are. We're guys, they can sort of slap it back into action. Not that was saying, we're the better sort of sex, but like that's how dudes think, right? Am I right? I don't know.
I think guys think they try to find the solution as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, yeah. Rather than dwelling on it, and right?
Yeah. I can't speak on girls' behalf.
Yeah, no.
Whether they do think that. But there is that little bit of they do try to think of all the different scenarios. And sometimes it does, go into that sort of loop that you're talking about, where they're going, oh, this, what about this? And they worry so much that it kind of disables them from actual action. Sometimes you think, oh, like, okay, we've thought about this for so long. We already know what the issue is, but okay, let's think of the solution now of not solution, but think of a way to lift those worries out of.
Yeah, definitely. Because I did study counseling last year, and those statements came up where the female gender obviously think of all those possibilities, the what ifs, like, oh, it could be like this, or maybe it's like this sort of thing. But then when it comes to the guys, they just say point blank, like they're only thinking one thing. Like, yeah, maybe that's the thing. Like, men don't think a lot; they only think one thing, and it was like that's the answer. Or like that's as simple as it gets. We're not trying to be sexist again, but they sort of complicate things, or like they have that capacity or that ability to sort of think of all those things. Whereas guys, they sort of balance it out, and it's just that one thing. Not that it's right or whatever, but that thing you were talking about.
Do you reckon it's like, so with girls, how you're saying, like, they think about all the different scenarios where guys, we try to find the solution. I'm thinking as guys, when we try to think of the solution, we do look at like the different possibilities, but we don't look at them in detail. We're kind of just like, oh, let's try this. And if it doesn't work, then we'll try another thing. And where girls possibly could be like, I'm going to think of every single solution, like every single problem. And I'm going to find all the little details of, if I do this, I could do this. So it could be that thing where guys are like, trying to find that solution. So we kind of had that battle between like, let's just figure it out already. And like, no, but I want to think about like all the possibilities of what can go wrong. So yeah, I think that's how the guys think. Do you reckon there's any what do you call it, drawbacks to the way the guys think?
Definitely.
Terms of,
definitely. I think when it comes to sort of emotions or feelings, like guys definitely, it's not like they don't think about those other things, but like guys, I feel like guys are very level-headed and very just like straightforward. So they sort of don't think around, above and beyond sort of thing. Maybe for some. But whereas compared to females, they would sort of think all sort of over the place. So I guess like not comparing the two genders, but when you put them side to side, you would see how they sort of complement each other, where you have the guy that just, not that he chooses to think one direction, that's just how he sort of thinks. Like, that's how we do. Like, we just like, we just like, we say like it is and we see how it is. Whereas on the other side, the opposite sex sees it as like a full, broad sort of thing. So then it comes to sort of like that complementary sort of thing where that guy's one sort of direction or idea can sort of narrow down and balance it out with the opposite sex. Like, for example, they might have a billion ideas running at the same time, but if the guy can sort of, give his 2 cents, he would narrow that one idea to, those billion ideas to one thing. And then you can have communication about that and then go on to the next thing that's on the female girl's mind, and then sort of have that other perspective, like the male sort of perspective on that sort of thing. And so you're sort of like tackling each thing as it goes, not at sort of one time. Like, as guys sort of do, like we just like tackle it like one by one, like I don't know about you, but
we're not great multitaskers.
Yeah, exactly. And like, especially thinking about these things, like a billion things, and I'm like, man, just calm down, slow down, sort of thing. Just like, let's just talk about this one thing first, get that out, go to the next thing, sort of thing. So it's sort of like, it's like it sort of works one with the other. Like they really complement each other, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. I'd really love to hear like the female perspective of this. Because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of, if there's any like female listeners right now, they'll be like,
yeah,
wrong.
We'll get there, man.
These guys don't. Who are these guys talking about?
We'll get there, man. We'll get there.
We'd love to like have that. Yeah.
I just want to go back to what Punch was talking about, how like thinking, right? It's instead of going this way, let's go this way. How can we do that? Like a lot of things, I know myself, I do it a lot. We simplify things so much and it makes sense, but to some it might not be easily understood, right? They might not have that same clarity. So what tools can we do? What tools do you do for yourself to help you in those situations to direct those thoughts in that direction?
Me personally, I find writing down ideas like probably the main thing. Because once you've written it down, it goes from a thought to a tangible, actual like item. And then it's from there, you kind of just flesh it out. So probably not, I wouldn't say from like a problem perspective or a worry. I think like in terms of like our creativity, if we were to come up with like an idea for, say, I don't know, a video or something, like a short or a skit, like, yeah, it's essential that like you start with the main idea, then you kind of just flesh it out from there. Because that's the thing as well, like, I know this has happened with me and Ponch as well, where like we've just talked about stuff, but we haven't actually written stuff down. And then like we've come back to it like just an hour later, we've forgotten everything. Yeah, and it's just like having it actually become tangible and something that you can actually physically go back to and read over and like even like go back to the deviations from that initial idea. Yeah, like that's probably that's at least my best way to do it. Yeah, I don't know what you guys do or think. Like,
yeah, I definitely feel like breaking it down to those tiny things that you can like pinpoint definitely helps.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Definitely writing it down helps. For me, I started doing. I'll ask you this: how often are you guys spend time just alone with yourself? Nothing, no phones, just you.
Never.
Yeah.
No.
Fair bit. Yeah.
So what do you do in those moments when you're alone?
Like, does that include cigarettes?
Nothing. I mean, nothing. Just you. No distractions.
Yeah. Fair bit, actually. Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. I just sit there and look at I'm sitting in my backyard and I look at the trees, look at the clouds, look at the plants. And, because you feel that need to sort of disconnect and not have those stimulants, music, cigarettes, drinks, coffee.
Yeah.
You just sit there and you think like, where am I? So going back into, I guess what the question was with Will, like how do you what was the question? Like how do you deal?
Which one?
How do you redirect the ideas from passing to...
reconnecting with the present moment. And that's what I feel like, being still, being silent, not having those distractions, those stimulants helps you realize, where you actually are at that moment. And it's like, okay, so you have these things that affected you in the past. And it's like, okay, it's in the past, you can't change it, it's done. And you have these thoughts that are in the future where like, you're not actually there, you're not living, you're not where you sort of want to be, but you're here. like you're here at this very moment where you are present, aware, and sort of alive, and looking at all these things, like it's looking at trees, looking at something green, because apparently that has something to do with resetting like your mindset. Looking at grass itself, where it's like it just like grounds you, and it's like, oh man, you got to snap back into reality sort of thing, where it's like you're thinking about things in the past, things in the future, but you're here. So it's in like, what then can you do to sort of achieve where you sort of want to go? And yeah, like being in the present moment, or realizing or understanding what or who I have to be at that time on that day really helps me sort of like achieve those goals of where I sort of want to be. And yeah, it is sort of difficult because, you know, we're always trying to think of where we want to be or where we'd rather be, like on an island, you know, kicking back or whatever sort of thing. Like we have that mindset, we're daydreaming. But then no, we got to snap back and realize that we're here. We got to do what, you know, we got to do what we're scheduled to do, or like what we intend to sort of work, do stuff at home or whatever. But it's like being in that present moment really sort of grounds you and sort of like snaps you back into reality, sort of like taking the pill in the matrix, like, you know, you gotta wake up, Neo, wake up, sort of thing. And it's like, you know, going through that. And it's like you have to live that present moment, not wanting to be back in the days, like, you know, all chill or whatever, not wanting to be somewhere forward, but rather being, you know, where you are and appreciating that, which is hard. It's definitely hard. But having that appreciation of that silence and that stillness, it's like, man, yeah, it's definitely like a whole nother world, especially without all the stimulants, distractions and stuff. And yeah. What about you, Jeff?
That's really good. I myself, when I started doing runs, I stopped listening to music. I bring my phone just to record my steps and my path, whatever. But one thing I noticed was when I do go on those runs by myself, I find that those thoughts that I have, because I have no stimulants at all, I find that those thoughts are the truest self that come out. And sometimes it's a difficult conversation to have with yourself, right? And when you're running, you're doing something that kind of sucks. It's a struggle, and you are your own motivator in that moment, right? And how often do we rely on ourselves to motivate us? How often do we talk to ourselves to encourage us to keep on going? It's not easy to do. Like I remember the first time I did it, a 2-kilometer run felt like the longest run ever, right? And it's not much, but it was hard because I had to rely on myself. Whereas before I was listening to podcasts, I was listening to audiobooks, and sometimes they'll say something and you'll be like, oh, wow, that just gave me so much energy, right? And yeah, I just find that the importance of being in the moment, like you said, being present with where you are and allowing your thoughts to come as they are, that's when your truest self comes, right? But we are not our thoughts. We have to decide what we want to do with those things, right? We can talk to ourselves. Why am I thinking this way? What are these thoughts? Help me understand that. That's the way I use it. It's becoming intentional with what we do. I think doing those actions, they're really good, but there has to be intention with those actions. So I remember this time I had a really massive breakdown, and I went to do a run the next day and I couldn't even do it. So I started walking. I did that walk instead of running. And I told myself, all right, I'm going to use this time intentionally to reflect on myself. Why did I have this breakdown? Why did I have these emotions? Why did I have these feelings? And it was a moment in time where I had to choose, do I want to beat my time, or do I want to use this time intentionally for myself and to find ways I can grow? And how often do any of us do those things? Because we're so connected in this world through the digital world. And sometimes we rely on that, right? We rely on the immediate reactions and the justifications from people that we don't allow ourselves to justify our own actions. That's a way for me. that's my time. I go on those walks, I go on those runs, or if I get a chance, I'll do yoga, or I'll just sit there for a moment, even like 2 minutes, just sit there. All right, what am I thinking? Just to be disconnected from everything, because you're just constantly bombarded with all these stimulants, like you said, all these distractions that our mind is not clear, right? That's me personally.
What do you reckon? What would you say to those people that use that stimulants, those distractions? Because a lot of them, like you said, when you're by yourself and you don't have those distractions, you reveal your true thoughts. And when they have those true thoughts, sometimes they don't want to have those true thoughts. They're like, okay, it's too much for me. That's why I distract myself with these other things. What would you say to those people that are too afraid to have that conversation with themselves or to have those thoughts?
That's hard. Like, I experienced that with people too, and someone close to me as well, someone I care about, right? It's not an easy situation to go through. And if that's something you can't handle yourself, do it by yourself, then you have to have that humility to seek out help, right? Sometimes we, like, especially us males, we don't seek out that help because we think, I'm tough, I can get through this by myself. And fine, maybe you can, right? But just because you reach out for help, just because you reach out to people, that doesn't make you any weaker. Yeah. Sometimes we need those people in our lives, that support, for us to build that foundation, to have some sort of belief to attach to when we don't have it ourselves. And some people don't have that, right? I guess that's why we have to be those people, right?
Yeah.
And we have to allow ourselves to be found. We do those things through these podcasts, through the daily actions that we do, that people can find, oh man, this guy seems like a genuine person, right? It's difficult, but eventually we can all do so much, and that person themselves have to take action, because in the end, it's their life, and we aren't responsible for anyone's life. We're only responsible for our own. And it's hard. It's so difficult, right? And sometimes some people don't fully understand that because of different circumstances. But all we can do as good people and unselfish people is just to show unconditional love to anyone, and to not have a cold heart, right? No matter how difficult it can be. And sometimes we're going to be hurt ourselves, and it's hard. So it's either we got two choices in those situations. We either run from it and leave that person behind, or we do our best to strengthen ourselves so that we can help this person too. We got to make that choice, right? That's the way I see it.
So just going off that, I guess it's sort of okay in the sense where people our age, middle-aged adults, and I guess even young adults themselves, they've sort of realized that need to sort of disconnect from social media or all the stimulants or whatever. But I think it's more now on the younger generation, where all they've known of all they've grown up with was the social media. They've only known Instagram since they were maybe, I'd say 12 years old, even younger than that, where they were exposed to this coping mechanism of looking to escape through social media, looking, through the scrolling sort of mechanism, where they didn't have, I guess, that exposure to sort of express how they sort of feel through physical sort of outlets, sports, or even just fighting itself, or those natural outlets. I feel like the younger generation are more I feel like the younger generation are more affected by that idea of not having that ability to have that silence, right? It's I've done like youth ministry and done work with kids and stuff, and like I've seen like these kids, like they're fidgetive and all they talk about is social media sort of thing. So it's like, how do you sort of draw their attention from what they see into their own selves? And they're like, when I, hit them with a question about, how do you sort of feel? They're all like, oh, like this is something sort of new. So I feel like that sort of, that idea of, those people looking to media or whatever, what we were talking about before, like as an escape, like it's a hard sort of task. And I think like the amount of people our age, they understand, or they know how to disconnect. They know what to do in that time where they're away from the screens. They can go for a jog, they can go running, meditating, yoga sort of thing. They have those outlets. But when it comes to the younger generation, it seems like they don't have that same initiative and that same imagination to go out and do those things, to go out for a jog, to go and explore, to think about themselves sort of thing. And it's definitely hard. So the thing was, I don't know if you guys saw that last Shinobi reel that I made about peace begins with a smile, how it was the traveling man. And when I sort of made that video, I myself was going through some shit. Like I was down, like it was hard, it was tough. And like everyone that I would meet at that time was going through shit. So I decided to sort of make that reel, or that little sort of video, to sort of make people smile in some sort of way, even though it was, just an idea. So I just grabbed clips of all these clips that I had in the bank of people smiling. And at that time, like, people were down. They were really down. I think I don't even know when this was, but like, people were just down. And so I just, what, I'm just going to make this clip. I've been jamming to Most Def Traveling Man because I've been out traveling, but I would really want to make people smile and really be affected of it, because I know people are scrolling. I know people are online, and that's all they can sort of resort to. So I'm going to like, chuck all these people smiling together. I included you guys in there. And I was
Thank you very much.
Yeah, like no worries. But like, that was the intention behind that. Like knowing that there are people there, just that's all they can sort of resort to. But when they see this clip, or if they do see this clip, they can be like, oh shit, we used to smile back then. Or like smiling is it does take a lot of muscles to sort of smile, but it's the littlest thing that we can sort of do to remember happiness or whatever. And so that was, the idea behind that video. And then, people were messaging were like, oh man, that was such a good video. Like I actually laughed, or like they saw themselves and like, shit, I smiled and shit. And they're like, and just having that reaction where, we have this tool, this gift, I guess, to use videos and stuff to motivate and uplift people. And it's like, why not use it? Even though, as much as possible, you want to sort of, it's sort of like a paradox kind of thing where like, you want to get people off the screen, but you do want people to look at your shit sort of thing. So it's like, for me personally, I want to use Shinobi to do that, to make people react in the sense that, they feel good about themselves, or feel good about where they are sort of thing. And so it's like, I think, what Gerald said, I go back to the question, was using what you sort of can to lead to sort of something sort of more genuine, or like helping people sort of reconnect again in that sort of way. And it's definitely hard, because that's all a lot, like that's how people connect nowadays, especially I'm not trying to go back to the lockdown thing, but like, that's how people sort of connect, right? Like through social media. That's that's one way people sort of feel that they're being looked at, and they feel they're being accepted, or they feel like they're communicating with people, then sort of let them be, like, even though it's sort of superficial in a sense, but like that's a coping mechanism. That's what we can. That's how we deal. And of course, it's just a substitute, but like it should lead towards something deeper, to that real face to face sort of thing. Like like and yeah, like it's really hard. It's really hard to get people off social media, screens, whatever, those stimulants. But yeah.
If people are going to be scrolling on these apps, you might as well put out something positive anyway, because they're scrolling, and I'm pretty sure like 99% of it is pretty negative and bashing some sort of thing, where at least put something out there that's good. I was going to ask, so like you said, all these kids, they're growing up with all this social media. They have these apps, and these apps are made, what do you call it? They have these people where they already thought of how to make these apps where you keep on scrolling and becomes an addiction.
Whoa.
Then, so in terms of like TikTok, like you can scroll, you can keep scrolling. They've made it so you can keep scrolling, and to the point where you just like half a day is gone and you just like wasted a half a day. So it becomes an addiction. What is the one thing that you can do to kind of get out of that mindless scrolling habit?
I think we've got to ask the question, how does addiction happen in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, we get deep out here, kid. I'm taking a piss.
Go ahead. Hey, be your mic.
Bro, he says something and then he leaves.
Hey, that's a mic drop. If this was real life, I had a mic right now.
I think so. I think the addiction starts when you're trying to find like that what do you call it? That quick gratification of some sort. Like, this is going to give me some sort of enjoyment for a brief moment. I'm going to just do this, and you just keep getting those little hits of serotonin by looking at the video and like, that made me feel good. So you just keep scrolling. So having that little thing that it's bad for you, but because it's kind of giving you that little bit brief moment of, and it made me laugh, and then you just keep going. I think that's kind of how it starts.
Yeah. Oh, me personally, I don't know, because you guys actually got me onto using TikTok.
Wow!
This guy's like,
really
TikTok sucks, man. Man, this guy, that sucks. I'm not gonna do this.
No, but it's funny because like you guys are like, it's a different avenue to look at. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll look at it. And I have not enjoyed it at all. Like,
shut up.
No, for real. Like, I also think
I haven't enjoyed it, but I watch like 10 hours a day.
No, I don't. I think it's I guess the algorithm doesn't work for me. Like it's like somehow set to showing me stuff that I just don't enjoy, and I don't want to dig into
Will, just
any of like the others.
Why are you so sad, huh? Why, anak? Why are you so down? Why are you depressed? Huh? It's all right. You can talk to me. You can talk to your queers. It's okay. I'm your bunso.
No, but it's weird. Like I don't want to say I'm addicted to TikTok. I'm not. But I have caught myself looking at TikTok for like 20 minutes and just being like, man, what am I doing on this app? Like, I'm not enjoying it, but like I'm looking. And I kind of feel that way a little bit about Instagram, where it's like I'll scroll through it and I'm like, man, I've been here for like an hour. And there has been like some interesting tidbits here and there, but like overall, the time spent was, I'd probably say it's wasted, right? And again, same with Facebook. Yeah. Instagram's a little bit different for us because that's where we primarily operate. But even before Shinobi, I was looking at Instagram like and just being like, man, why do I spend my like XYZ time? Yeah. And it's just like, yeah. Like I guess these days I have a little bit like more time on my hands to like look at stuff like that.
Mm.
But it's also like I could probably be doing something more efficient, more like more productive. Oh.
So why do you reckon? Like, so you say you hate like scrolling through TikTok, even with Instagram right now. Why do you do? Why is it that you still stay on?
Why do I
don't know. Yeah. Well, why do you
with
think?
so TikTok started for me because it was research. I was trying to see if it was a viable platform for us to get into, and yeah, like like a different avenue for us to post our videos to. And it's just, I don't know. So like I think I'm staying on it to kind of find that thing. You know what I mean? That thing that like that would work for us in a sense. Yeah, no, I just haven't found it yet. Instagram, I know. I think I'm more lenient with Instagram because I know that I'm more likely to find that content that um that keeps us on that direction, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I find that you can find. It might be totally wrong, but I find maybe it's my algorithm as well, and the people that I follow, where it's just like, yeah, it's already giving me the stuff that I want to see. Whereas TikTok has just it's been totally random, and I just don't enjoy it. I really don't. um,
What you seeing?
yeah,
on,
no.
What are you seeing on TikTok, man? Those twerking girls, girls twerking, man.
I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing a lot of
Gerald, you look it up, bro.
Nah, not the girls. He's looking at the willies, dog. He's looking at the willies, the
Hey,
big willies.
There's nothing to report there, bro.
The cheese kranskis, the Aussie hot dogs, the beef sausage, the budding snack.
I'm all about them chorizos.
That's his
bro.
research, man. All the chorizos.
All the chorizos,
I
bro.
got you.
But yeah, no, like I don't know. Like I can see why young people like get into all that. Because it's what's popular. And you don't want to be left behind, which is kind of like the same deal with Shinobi. It's like we don't want to be left behind. And again, that's why I'm doing this research.
Why do you feel like you're going to be left behind, though? Why do you feel like you're going to be left behind just because you're not on that platform?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, technology is moving so fast. A new platform comes out like every day, and it's like, okay, so which one's the hot one? Which is the one that's like for example, which is the next Vine? Which is the next TikTok? Which is the next, whatever. And why would we handicap ourselves? You know what I mean? Like if we can get, I don't know, on something that gets views, why don't we do it? You know what I mean?
True. Let's go back to that subject though. Like, how do you think addiction happens? How do you think it starts?
I guess addiction, like in term, yeah. Let's say generally. So addiction comes, I guess, from two main factors. Number one, boredom, and number two, as an escape. So like, of course, addiction comes from like it comes from the thing before a habit comes. So something that you sort of develop like into your sort of daily schedule, where it becomes a habit and then it becomes an addiction. So it's like, I've got nothing to do sort of thing. So I'm just going to
Are
choose.
habits addictions though?
No, definitely not. But it can get to that point where it does become an addiction, where it's sort of uncontrollable and it's sort of like mindless. It's like a mindless sort of a reaction where like it's just super 100% automatic. Even like, and it's something that's like, it's something you feel like you sort of need to sort of be fulfilled, be gratified, and
So it's like a
satisfied.
dependency.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And it's something you sort of develop over time as well. Of course, you can't, develop an addiction without having experienced it for the first time. And you're like, oh, that sort of made me feel good, or I felt satisfaction. Maybe I felt humor. Right. For example, let's take TikTok. I resonated with that content that was out there. So, I laugh. Ha ha. Oh, that didn't make me laugh. Ha ha. So you kind of sort of develop that into a sort of habit. And then I guess when it becomes an addiction to the point where it's just like, it's something that isn't sort of productive, but it's something that you personally like have. Now we're getting tricky. It's something you sort of like develop for your own sort of satisfaction or for your own gain or your own personal sort of, your own personal sort of gratification, where it's like, it only benefits you sort of thing.
Right.
Does that make sense? Where it's it becomes like uncontrollable. And it's like that habit then becomes something that consumes you. It then affects your thoughts, the way you behave, the way you react, and then,
Right. Interesting. Okay. What do you guys think?
What do you think?
What do I think, man? I don't know. Like, I think obviously addictions start with, there's a deeper root before that happens, right? We're always searching for something, and then once we find that gratification, obviously you want to keep coming back to that feeling. Pretty much, you explained it pretty well. I just think addiction is really interesting. It's probably something we can unpack a lot more. But I don't know. I just see, for me, I don't think I've had any addictive characteristics. Probably the last one I had was like gaming. That I put myself in a really dark hole with that. Playing that endlessly for days on end for quite a long time to escape from my own problems, right? Because you put yourself in a new reality where you can have a new life, live a new life, have a new adventure, or live something you never would have thought you would live. And you get those feelings of, wow, I feel like I feel so happy, right? Being here. And then once that shuts off, you go back into the real world and you're always like thriving for that. So for me, it was a underlying problem with myself, having a low self-esteem, low self-respect for myself, having no purpose, no actual fulfillment in life. So I turned to that. That was my addiction. I guess the way I got out of that was finding something more to live for, right? And it's not going to be exactly the same for anyone. I'm not saying I have any solutions to it. It took a while to get out of that addiction, but grateful that I was able to get out of it. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of focus, a lot of support. There's no one thing that helps you get through it. It's a multitude of things, but I think addiction happens when there's a deeper rooted problem. That's my opinion on it, right? And everyone's gonna have their own separate opinion. There's gonna be science behind it. I don't know, right? I don't know the facts, but that's just for myself. Yeah.
Is there such thing as a good addiction?
In what way?
Well, in terms of just like, so we always talk when we hear addiction, we talk about them being a negative thing, whether it be like, I don't know, for instance, alcoholism or something like that. But is there something else on the other side? Can we classify like being obsessed about a certain good thing, like, oh, I'm gonna exercise? Would you consider that an addiction to exercise? Can that be a good thing?
To be honest, I think I might have it.
Addiction to exercise?
Yeah.
I think obsession and addiction are different things, though.
Yeah. I think like the habit and addiction. That's like those are the two lines where habit becomes more of something that you it becomes a part of you already, and like it doesn't change your behavior. It doesn't modify the way that you sort of think or react. Whereas addiction, you're constantly thinking about that fulfillment.
Yes.
You're constantly thinking about that hit or that, that gratification, where habit, it's just something that you sort of do, and that it becomes a part of your character.
Yeah.
So I guess like, that sort of good addiction in a sense is that habit where it's like it just becomes a part of you. You're like your natural, like, for example, waking up on time, not hitting the snooze button or whatever. It becomes a habit. It's not like you're addicted to like, oh yeah, like I need to wake up like this time sort of thing. Like, but it just becomes a part of you where it becomes natural, and that sort of forms your identity. Whereas addiction, that alters your sort of identity. It alters the way that you sort of react and respond. And like you're only thinking about that gratification, only thinking about this thing, like trying to get that, that satisfaction. Whereas habit is just sort of normal and sort of straightforward and just a part of everyday sort of life.
I think the way I would simplify it for myself is addiction is a dependency, whereas obsession is intentional.
Yeah.
So like Will, you're not gonna be like, oh, but I have to go gym. I have to go gym. Obsession is more like I get to go gym because I'm gonna have this outcome. Whereas addiction is kind of like, I have to do this so that I can feel this way, right? It's the way you word it that I would say the difference is, right? But anyway,
maybe I feel like I'm a bit of both.
Why do you think you're a bit of both?
Because there are days where I wake up. So I train in the morning. Like pretty much I wake up, then within an hour I'm working out. And there are days where I wake up and I just feel like just dog shit. But I'm like, no, I have to get this done.
Why do you have to get it done?
I don't know. I get really frustrated with myself if I don't. Like I get frustrated that like I've missed a day and now like the rest of my week's off.
Maybe that's determination in the sense that you want to achieve something rather than like being addicted or being dependent on it. It's like they're like way two sort of different things. But then again, you could sort of be determined to sort of be addicted. Like for example, a junkie being determined to get that hit, or like finding someone to get that, like I'm set, like I just want to get out there and like hit up them like injections and that, and like whereas like there's that sort of line. Does that make sense? Like there's the determination to fulfill that addiction, or there's that determination to sort of I don't know where that second part goes, but like there's that determination to not fulfill that addiction, or like to maybe accomplish something. But then again, if you think about the junkie, though, you want to accomplish getting high or getting that hit.
So why are you going gym, Will?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because like when I started working out, as in like just this time around, it's because of like lockdown. I felt really sedentary. And pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, I was going gym quite a lot. I think I was going 6 days a week on average. Huh? So, nah, we're not there yet. Also, I'm currently at my heaviest. Yeah, I'm at my heaviest right now. So I guess I wanted to reduce my weight. And I guess yeah, like I was working up like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I kind of set a personal goal for myself. A couple of like personal goals, but my current goal now is to like get leaner, not like lean, but leaner. And now it's just like, man, I just gotta keep doing it, gotta keep doing it, gotta keep doing it. And
So you're determined, you're driven to achieve that goal. And
yeah,
that's why if you take a day off, you feel guilty about that, right?
guilty, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more, oh, it's guilt to the point of either frustration. Oh, I'd say frustration. And to be honest, I don't even know how it would feel if I took a day, like a full proper day off where I didn't actually work out.
Right.
I've worked out like pretty much every day for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I do have a day, that's my 7th day, where it's just like, it's more chill, it's more for stretching, more for like doing accessory stuff. But yeah, I've had days where I'm like, the night before I'm just like, all right, tomorrow I'm gonna hit XYZ kilos. Then I go in and like, either I do it or I don't.
Right. So it's
but yeah,
purposeful.
it is, yeah.
You show up.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why like that's kind of where I feel sometimes it's an obsession, sometimes it's like an addiction where it's like, and then like when you hit those weights, you're like, damn man, that felt good. Like I just want to tell everyone. That's why to a degree, that's why I message you every now and then. I'm like, bro, I hit this.
Killing it, man. Killing it.
Yeah.
Doing good, bro.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, it's funny because like I've been recording not all my workouts, but just some of my big lifts, and then I send it to you.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of so that someone can be like, can acknowledge that I've done that. But also, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, acknowledge
You're gonna
it.
be accountable.
Accountable, but also like I like sending stuff to you because you G me up.
I G everyone up, bro. If you want to get G'd up, I will G you up, man. I will G you up, bro.
But then I was talking to a coworker the other day, and he was like, he goes, oh, he records his big lifts too, but he only holds on to his failures.
His what?
He only holds on to his failures, like the videos.
Okay.
He uses it as like reviewing game tape.
I
mean, and for me, I was like, man, that sounds really like negative. Like, it's like I just want to see, because like if I fail a lift, I know where I failed.
Yeah.
I just want to. I don't know. I am slightly addicted to like the positive feedback of like those videos.
Unreal.
Yeah.
It feels good, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know. I just personally feel a bit of both, like obsession and addiction. Like,
Fair enough.
and it might
Fair enough.
be, yeah. It could just be obsession. But yeah, me personally, I think it's a good addiction in a sense. I have to be careful with it because I could very well injure myself. Like,
Probably.
yeah, so
Probably. So that that could be carelessness, right?
yeah.
Um,
But
I
I do try to take the precautions to like not hurt myself or anything.
exactly.
Like that.
Safety measures.
Yeah, safety measures and
Yeah.
all that. And if I really don't feel right once I start working out, then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's be careful. Let's not do anything, crazy or stupid or those are the not fun days where
Exactly. Exactly, man. No one wants to get injured, man. No one likes those days.
yeah, for real.
Anyway, I really want to be mindful about the time because it's getting pretty late too, guys. I feel like we can unpack a lot, like with this stuff and cultural and tribalisms with our, our different suburbs. And Fudge looks. Look at that yawn, bro. Look at that yawn.
I wanted to say one thing that Will was talking about.
Yeah, go.
Just a quick one. So with your coworker,
Yeah.
how he only keeps his failure videos. I think with that, the way I see it anyway, it's not so much of a negative thing that he's keeping it. I think because with that, a lot of the times you learn a lot more from your failures anyway. If you're always like succeeding,
yes,
you might be able to succeed. And yes, you do. It is great that you've hit those like a certain point, but with the failures, you can find out what's going wrong, and then you can improve from that. So I think,
yeah,
not
for
so
sure.
much of anything, yeah.
And then I don't see it as negative either, but like internally for me, I feel like it was, if I was to do it, it would be more so like, oh, look at yourself fail, you're a goose.
What a dog, man.
No, but for him, it was like, no, like I actually like to review, like, maybe I can improve my form. Maybe if I shift my weight just a little bit, like, this moves better.
For sure.
And again, that's partly why I do record some of my lifts. Like just as a way of like form checking, because like either I don't have a mirror or I can't look at myself and lift heavy at the same time.
Right.
So it's just easier to, but then it's just like, if I'm gonna fail, then like I don't care about it.
Yeah.
Like I tried a big lift the other day, and it was a deadlift. I got the deadlift probably like 2 or 3 inches off the ground, and then I'm like, all right, cool. I just know that I'm not strong enough to lift this.
Yeah.
I looked at it. I'm like, the form's good, and then I just got rid of the video, and that was it. It was done. Like, I'm good with that.
That's
like,
it.
yeah.
Can I share something from an article about weightlifting?
For sure.
It's called "The Iron and the Soul." Just a section that I thought was really resonated with me. When the iron doesn't want to come off the mat, it's the kindest thing it can do for you. If it flew up and went through the ceiling, it wouldn't teach you anything. That's the way the iron talks to you. It tells you that the material you work with is that which you will come to resemble. That which you work against will always work against you. So like with that guy and his failures, like, man, props to him that he has the courage to look at his failings and realize like, all right, what can I improve from this? Where can I grow? I know I can do this. What can I do next to benefit next time to grow stronger? Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's why like I see the merit in it. I just don't, within my mind and the way I think, I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. Like,
for sure, man.
Like,
Amen.
I think it would be more destructive than helpful for me.
Exactly.
Like I said, like I'll look at it once or twice just to see if there are any glaring issues, and then once it's done, it's done. Like, just get rid of the video. Like, I don't need it anymore. Like,
for sure, man. For sure. Hey, man, all our minds work differently. Some things will work for us, others won't. We just gotta choose what is useful for us, and then we just punch, and then
How's he gliding?
how's he doing that?
How's he doing?
Too smooth.
Anyway, I'd like to end the podcast with the 3 questions again. I hope you came prepared, Will. 3 questions. All right. So, question 1: what are you grateful for? Question 2: what have you realized? And last question: what is a question you want to ask yourself?
Punch, you better be grateful for me.
Oh, all right. What's the first question?
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for the people that I've met through my entire life. Second question.
What have you realized?
I've realized that you can catch the bus for free. With
Oh,
no
damn!
money. Without tapping on off. That didn't come from me.
What's the secret? What's the secret? Are you willing to share it?
Third question.
Third question. What is a question you want to ask yourself or you want to ask people? To get them thinking about something.
Third question. What I would ask. Oh, I was going to say, Punch, why do you look so good? But the question I would ask
wow. I'm pogi. Wow. Are you a model? Wow. Actor. He's an actor, huh?
The question I would ask people is, what are you really living for?
Woo! Okay. Damn, what are you living for, guys? Why are you living? Okay.
No buying purpose.
I like that.
I don't purpose my thoughts.
What about you, Will? Come on, bro.
Thankful for. Man. He stole my one.
Hey, you can say the same thing. It doesn't matter. What is it that you're grateful for, man? If that's genuinely something you're grateful for, why not share it?
No, just say I'm thankful I got such a handsome friend. Like,
oh, damn. Okay. You're gonna
He's
go.
talking about you, Gerald.
Are you buckler, Will? No judge.
Hey,
Don't
bro.
judge.
We're telling Eden, bro.
Don't judge. Don't judge.
Zones, bro.
It's a safe space, man. It's 2021.
We in that.
It's 2021, bro. Don't worry. I don't judge you, huh? If you want to be like that, you can be like that. It's okay. Don't worry. I don't judge.
It's not judge.
It's not judge. It's not judge. Second question. What is?
Actually, no. Sorry. I would actually say.
Go.
Sorry, I would actually say I'm very thankful for the people in my life. The closer and the outer, everyone. The realization is, man, the community that you can build from just reaching out and communicating. And I guess that goes hand in hand with what I'm thankful for. Because I feel like if it wasn't for Shinobi and whatnot, I wouldn't have met some really, really cool people. Yeah. And then a question I'd ask for myself is, why do I tolerate Punch so much?
Because he's so foggy, man. He's so foggy. That's why. So handsome. Wow.
Man,
look at that dance. Wow.
Damn, he's going hard.
He looks like Avatar. Wow.
Oof, no.
Damn. The question I would ask myself far out. This is always the one that stumps me. Dev. I guess it's probably how do we get Shinobi to break that tipping point where we just go really hard and then everything landslides into glory.
Hey, just leave that to me. I can answer. Ain't no thing, cuz.
He's got the answers.
Ain't no thing.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right, I can answer that question. So you asking me? You're asking me.
Yeah. See again. I'm going back to what
just tune into the next podcast.
Tune into the next podcast, guys. We're definitely gonna have you guys back on,
the secret,
man.
yeah. Just tell me the secret, bro. So.
Chili Willies, man. Make sure you get those Chili Willies at St. Berg's, guys.
Hey,
Let's go.
Named after
Is that the actual
Chili.
name? Is that the actual name?
Chili name? Chili.
Yeah, it's actual name, Chili Willy.
Oh, damn.
Damn, bro.
It's after
He's
your
got
boy,
food
yeah.
after him now, man.
Named after your boy.
Damn, bro. Well, thank you, Will. Thank you, Punch, for joining in on the podcast.
Thanks,
I really
Joshua.
appreciate
Thanks,
you
Gerald.
guys.
Appreciate you guys, man.
We
Yes,
love
thank you,
these
guys.
conversations, man. And I think we can unpack a lot of these on another podcast. Let's, prepare ourselves even more. Where can they find you? Where can people find you, man?
On the block.
you could-
On the block.
Find us on the block.
In the west
Literally.
side.
In the corner.
Hey,
On the block, man.
hey, nah, seriously, literally. So I'm taking walks everywhere from like Tottenham, Footscray. Like you can literally see me on the street. You can see
He's
me
Forrest
walking,
Gump, guys.
cuz.
He's Forrest Gump, man.
Literally, cuz. Catch me rolling on my bike, walking. Seriously, I'm dead serious, cuz. I'm serious.
We get you.
At Shinobi Films.
At Shinobi Films.
At Shinobi Films, anywhere.
Shinobi Dot Films.
Shinobi
That's
Films
the
on
details.
Instagram, YouTube,
Yeah.
Facebook, Pinterest, OnlyFans, everywhere
TikTok.
you can, everywhere you
TikTok.
can. look, man.
TikTok,
TikTok's
apparently,
favorite.
yeah.
They're on TikTok now.
It's so full. Man.
Yeah. No, thanks, boys. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, thank you for
Love
taking
you
the time.
guys.
We really
Ah,
appreciate
right.
it.
Pleasure.
It was awesome talking to you guys. Let's definitely do this again, yeah? And hopefully we can do it in
sure.
person. Hopefully
Oh,
we can
for
do it in
sure.
person.
Definitely.
All right. Peace out, guys. We hope you
Alright.
enjoyed
Love
this
you.
podcast. I love you too, man. We love you. And hopefully you guys are always staying safe, always take care, and always choose to get up. Peace.
And always check your brips.